If you are in the call center industry, the things that we're going to be talking here might be of interest to you. This is the Felix Factor.
It's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.
Now, as I was saying, we have here with us people that have a lot of experience in the call center industry. We have Mr. Alex Guzman and Mr. Eddie Pena. Alex, why don't you tell us your experience in call center so that people know that you know what you're talking about?
Ooh, call centers. I started in call center back in 2001 or 2002, I think, in Opticom, in what was Infotel. That was there in la calle Avenida 27 de Febrero. I know that many people that is going to watch this, they know what I'm talking about. And there I work in Opticom for about 4 or 5 years approximately. And then STI came along that started in Infotel, but they took the project out independently, and then they called me in to be the trainer there. So I was actually a monitor in Opticom. I was a CSR and then a monitor, and then as a trainer in STI for about, I don't know, like 5 years, I think it was. And in STI, I was actually supervisor, trainer. We were talking about it before. I used to do a little bit of everything, no?
Right.
And now, well, I actually haven't been in call center for a while, but I have been teaching English and training people on interviews. Actually, I do training here in Spain, how to take a interview in English here in Spain.
That's very interesting because we have a lot of newcomers in the call center industry. You know, we have a lot of call centers. Back in that time when we started in the early 2000s, we only had like two or three call centers, right? But today we have many call centers and we have a lot of people that are getting into the industry. I remember back in that time, the people in call centers were the ones that were deported or people that learned English in a bilingual school or something. But now we have the immersion program where people are coming out and a lot of young people that they learned English and now they are starting to go into the call centers. So we're gonna give them some tips. Um, we're gonna be doing a series of episodes, and now we're gonna talk today about the interviews, tips for the interviews. So Eddie, why don't you tell us your experience also, like Alex did?
Okay. Um, Thank you very much for having me on this conversation. I know it's going to be helpful and very informative for a lot of young people that are probably considering getting a call center job or who are new in the call center industry. I know it's going to be very helpful for them. My call center journey started back in 2002. I started working for a Tricom as a customer service representative. I worked there for like 1 year, and then after that, I went to STI, and that's actually where I met you guys. And at STI, I used to work as a customer service representative for calling cards for prepaid cards. And people used to call us when they didn't get the minutes that they were supposed to get, or when they were not able to reach their parties, or for those type of things. And then from STI, I went to Stream, uh, and over there I worked for Office Depot. It was a project, where people used to call us to place their orders, for business supplies and those type of things. And then I also work at Language Line as an interpreter. When I first started, I started as a CSI interpreter. I used to interpret calls for applications for food stamps. I used to interpret for 911 calls, like operators. people who call 911, those type of things. And then I was able to transition to a medical certified interpreter, medical interpreter. And then when Language Line closed down their business here in the Dominican Republic, then I started working for LSA, and that's where I'm actually working right now. And I've been working for them for 3 years as a medical
As a
interpreter.
medical interpreter. That's very
Yeah.
interesting. So you see, we have people that know about the industry. So what we're going to talk about is tips that the young people may need when they start their journey in call centers. So Alex, let's start with you. You were the trainer at STI for many years, and now you say that you're teaching how to take interviews in English in Spain. Give us some tips, like these young guys that they recently graduated, or maybe they came from the States and they speak English, and like what are the things that they should consider when they go into an interview at a call center?
Well, I think that one of the first things that you need to know when you're going to go into a company to have an interview is try to get to know the company beforehand. Um, Read, go into their webpage, see what the business is all about, in order for you to know, like, you know, get to know the company. And in an interview, you have enough information to be able to talk. In case they ask you, you know, the typical questions: why you want to come to this company, why this company, because it's not only about the money, but also because you want to be in a company that provides you with a good environment, and also, as an employee, it gives you those benefits that you are looking for. So get to know the company first, before you go into in order for you to prepare your interview at home first, um, and to know what type of language you're going to use. That's one thing. Um, Another thing is that you need to understand that when you go into to an interview, the person that is interviewing you, that person also has been or went through an interview as well. That person is a regular person like you and I. That person just want to know if you really speak English, if you really have the skills that it takes for you to, to develop the work, to do the work that they are looking for. So, and why do I say this? Because sometimes when we go into an interview, we think that we get really nervous, and our nerves can really betray us. So we have to be careful with that. Try to control that. And I think that one of the exercise that you can do is that the person that is interviewing has also been through other interviews, and to be able to be where that person is, and the same way that you're going through right now. So prepare your your interview first at home, get to know the company, and try to be as natural as possible. Is the best thing that you can do from my perspective. No, I think Eddie could also say some things, as he has been through many other interviews as well.
All right, Eddie, you've been to many interviews, right, in different call centers. So, from your experience, what can you advise these young guys that are starting now that could help them in their interviews?
Yeah, before I jump into that and answer your question, I would like to say that one of the things that is going to help you to improve your English and to master your English and really take it to a whole new level is to get a job, a call center job. Once you're in an English speaking environment, and you start interacting and talking to customers and to coworkers in English, that's really is going to help you to improve your English. One of the mistakes that I see in a lot of youngsters when they graduate from the institute, from the English Institute, is that they think that they are not ready for a call center job, and they what they do is that they take out like a break and they start practicing, and I think that's a mistake because I know that some call centers are more demanding than others. Some are more picky than others, and they require like a higher level of English. But if you're not at a high level yet, you can start at a call center that is not requiring a high level of English, and then you can start improving your English. And I think that I would like to say that before I answer the question about the interview and the tips. So in addition to what Alex mentioned, I would say that you gotta sound secure. You gotta, you know, one of the mistakes that a lot of people make is that they try to impress, and they, they get nervous. You just be yourself. Um, you know, sound natural. You know, be yourself. Don't try to impress the person that is interviewing you. And listen to the question first, and then try to answer in a natural way.
Yes, I remember. We're going to
That
talk about that later. I remember one time, when I was a supervisor, I had to interview people also to assess their level of English. And I remember this one person that came. He came with a folder full of diplomas of English. And when I talked to him, his English was not good for the job. He didn't pass. But then this other guy came, and he never went to an institute. He told me that he actually learned English at home, and then his English was almost native, so he passed.
I think that eh, 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 Felix, I think that one of the main thing that call centers are looking for is the level of English, is the accent, um, because a lot of the call centers that we have now in Dominican Republic and in Latin America, they were taken from India into Latin America because the accent of the Latin American people are a lot better than the Indians one. The Indians have a lot of difficulty to pronounce, for example, the R, et cetera, et cetera. So, like Eddie was saying, is try to get a job where you can practice your English and where you can put your English into practice. And even though it's not a high-paying job, and see it as a training for a future better job,
Yeah,
because to make it to, I'm sorry?
no, see it as a training to become an interpreter, as a better
For
paying
example,
job. For
actually,
example,
you won't be able to get a job as an interpreter if your English is not upmost, like it's the best, So that is really important in that sense. And of course, don't stop studying. Just because you feel that you're fluent in the basic language, to be an interpreter, you need to always keep studying to learn new vocabulary, new words, in order for you to implement them and use them. Because sometimes call center can be very repetitive, and you just say the same thing probably 300 times per day. But you're not learning new vocabulary.
right,
You
and
see what
then
I
you
mean?
become fluent in the area that you work for. For example, at STI, maybe we were able to talk about calling cards and cell phones and everything. But then if you talk about politics, then that was going to be a problem. So
For
my
example,
advice is also
the
to
same thing
read.
happens. Yeah, for example, the same thing happens when I'm teaching English. No, when I'm teaching English to uh, business people, they're super comfortable talking about everything related to the company. But once I put a conversation about out of their comfort zone, talking about maybe food, or talking about things at home, talking about maybe cars, they don't know what to say because this is not their area. They're not really comfortable, coming out of their comfort zone, and they feel really uncomfortable because they don't have the vocabulary. So, someone that is looking to be, for example, an interpreter or to get a better job with their English, they need to always keep learning, reading books, watching TV in English, everything in English, until they feel comfortable, until they get the level that they want.
Yeah.
Felix.
Yes, learning new words every day, reading and writing down the words and practicing them every day. Well, also we see that in the call center industry, the turnover rate, that's the term for that. The turnover rate is really high. Like we see people that have worked like in all the call centers. And what do you think that is, Alex?
Well, actually, since now there is a high increase of call centers, and people are going from call center to call center trying to find, a little bit higher paid, or perhaps they don't feel comfortable at one call center and they just go to another one because they feel that they are safe, because there's a lot of job opportunities. Now, I think it's very important that when you work in a call center, you understand that there's a high turnover, and call centers can come and go. All right. And what I wanted to talk about this experience is that when you work in a call center, even if you grow a little bit, whether you are a monitor, a supervisor, a trainer, or something, I saw many people when they got a position as a trainer, team leads, or something, they acted like if they were like, I don't know, the owner of the call centers. Their mindset changed. I think you need to keep it humble as possible. And why is this? For example, when I was in Opticom went bankruptcy, or they shut down the doors, and everybody went to the street. But I was already in SDI. I was already in SDI as a trainer. So I arrived to SDI directly as a trainer from being a monitor in Opticom or in Infotel, and I arrived as a trainer. And all of my and all of my friends and all the people that I knew from Opticom, they came to SDI to work in SDI. And my supervisors, my trainers, and my team leads, now they were having an interview with me in the call center that I was, because SDI at that moment was the best paying call center at that time, at that moment when SDI started.
Yeah,
And
that
so
happens.
what I'm trying to say is that the call center is really rotating. You never know who you're going to find, or where you will have to go, because your call center, like Eddie said, STI language line closed down their doors. They closed down in Dominican Republic. So what did everybody do? What did everybody do from language line? They went to what's the name of your company
LSA,
that you guys are
Listen.
in? Huh?
Language Service Associates.
You know
LSA.
what I mean? LSA. So everybody went to LSA because language line closed. So now you could have been a supervisor in language line, but that doesn't mean that you're coming in as a supervisor in this new company. You're gonna start from the bottom, because you need to escalate. The call centers, you don't go directly unless you have a master's degree and perhaps or a career, and maybe you go directly to be a director or a manager or something of the company. But in reality, I think that one of the things that I would like to let the people know is be humble. It doesn't matter if you're a supervisor. That doesn't make you more than anybody else. You just have a different responsibility. You see what I mean? So keeping it humble, it's really important, because you
Yeah,
never know where you're going to end up and what doors you're going to knock.
exactly.
So
It's the same
um,
as the government, as we're seeing today, with all the people getting
nowadays,
locked up. People, they
you need to,
thought that
yeah.
those positions were going to be forever. And now, it's the same in the call center industry. For example, when I was a supervisor at STI, I was the supervisor. I had a supervisor at Supra. And then when Supra closed down, he went to STI and I was his supervisor. Luckily, he was a nice supervisor to me. But
The
Yeah.
same thing happened to me. All of my
yeah,
supervisors at Opticom, they were awesome. They were great people. All of them. I have no complaints. Um, and I was really happy to having them, because I knew. And also, this is another thing, to keep the excellency. To do your job. The companies hire you and they pay you because they want your service. If your service is no good, the company don't need you. And your reputation is very important, because, for example, why I was so happy to having those people from Opticom, because I knew the level of quality of work that they had, because I had a responsibility to interview them and train them at SDI. So I know that I didn't want to have anybody that I knew that they were doing bad things at Opticom. You see what I mean? So when they came in, I was really happy to having them because I knew the excellency of work that they had, the level of excellency that they had. You know what I mean? So that was also easier because people will talk about you. People will call. You know what I mean? Company manager, they will call and they will ask about you. Why did you leave that call center? Why did you leave this place? And you could easily shut all the doors on your face. Everybody could shut the doors on your face because you have not been doing what you were supposed to be doing. You know, so keep it humble and try to do your job, even though you think nobody's looking, somebody's watching you, and someone could recommend you. And I think that's, for me, I think that's important.
Alex, was there an instance in which you didn't accept someone from Opticon because you knew that they were sloppy at Opticon and you didn't want them
No,
at
I
SCI?
think no, I cannot say that that happened. No, I cannot say that that happened. Because also simultaneously, when STI opened and Super came in and Stream, so there was started becoming more options. There were more options at that time, and probably if someone knew me and I was the monitor, so I knew how everybody was working. You see what I mean? I knew the job. I knew how people did their jobs. So if someone knew that I knew the bad job that they were doing, they probably won't even think about it. But thank God that didn't happen and I didn't have to face that situation.
All right, so
Yeah,
let's close with an advice. You were going to say something, Eddie.
yeah. I just want to add that sometimes people think that if you're in a, when you're in a managerial position, let's say as a supervisor or a manager or a OM, operation manager, you have it's different than when you're an agent, because when you're an agent, you're just responsible for yourself. When you're running a team, you have to demand from your employees. You have, because there are a lot of employees that are very lousy. They 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 always get late from their breaks.
They
They
always try
miss
to
work.
cheat the system. They always
Yeah,
try to cheat the system.
exactly. Or they miss
Always.
work a lot. They don't go the extra mile. They don't offer excellent customer service. And you as a supervisor, you have to confront them, and you have to demand from them, because it's your responsibility. And I think one thing is to be buzzy and to be evil, and we shouldn't do that, because like Alice said and like you said, it's in call centers, you reap what you sow. Sometimes you're in a high position in one call center, and then next thing you know, you're just a regular agent at another call center. And sometimes you just reap what you sow.
Yeah,
And
and
but
also,
one thing is to be buzzy and to be evil, and another thing is to be very lenient and to let everybody do whatever they want to do. And I think when you're in a managerial position, you have to demand from your employees, because the people above you are doing the same thing. They are demanding from you.
yes,
Yeah.
and also it's important to note that if you are starting now in the call center industry, a good way for you to escalate is being excellent, doing a good job, being excellent at customer service, being excellent with your coworkers, and the managers, they see that, and that's how you escalate. So
Exactly.
let's finish with an advice, Alex,
I think
for
we,
the
we have said
newcomers.
it. Keep it humble, continue to grow all the time, don't stop, and do what you were hired to do. Do your job well. And even though you think nobody's watching, somebody's watching. And you will be honored at the moment when you're ready for that.
Yeah,
Even the Bible says that. What you do in secret, God is going to promote
reward
you in
you,
public.
right?
And it's a principle. It's a principle, and if you apply that principle, for sure, at a specific time, it's gonna come through.
Excellent.
That's it.
Eddie?
Yeah, I would say let the position get to your head. You know, remain humble. Just see it as an opportunity. You know, to grow and to to accept a new challenge. Don't get that don't let it get to your heart, and that position doesn't define you or make you better, or 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 it doesn't make you like a higher person than someone else. It's just something that in like temporarily that you're doing, and next day you can be gone from the company, and then you can be at another call center. And if you mistreat people, and if you don't treat them well, some people may be your boss in the next call center, and they just gonna you're just gonna reap what you sow.
All
Listen,
right.
I want to say something. Listen, how powerful is this? I live in Spain, Madrid. In Spain, Madrid, in my church where I go, I met a guy that he worked with my sister in Supra or in Stream, one of those call centers. And imagine that I am in another continent. You know what I mean? It's not only about being humble just because you will go to another call center, it's because you could go to another company. It doesn't matter in what area. And this person is in my church. He arrives to Spain in my church, and we're talking. And he says, "Yeah, I work in call center." And me too. "And what call center you work?" I work in this." But you know my sister. Her name is such and such. And he's like, "I know your sister." And we met in another continent, and it's amazing. It's just amazing. So you never know who you're going to meet or
It is.
who you are going to be.
So remember, if you are at a position, be humble. So I want to thank you guys for your time. This is the first episode of the Call Center podcast. This is the Felix Factor.